Welcome back, everyone, to Einstein's Eyes. I'm Carl Rosen. This is my partner, Jon Ditkoff, for both ophthalmologists. I'm an oculoplastic surgeon, Jon's anterior segment and cornea, and we are thrilled to have Jeffrey Nau, CEO of Oyster Point, discuss his company, his background, and Tyrvaya, which is part of his pipeline. It's a very exciting pipeline for dry eye. Jeff, welcome. Can you tell us about your background and about your company and about Tyrvaya?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks a lot for having me on. So just to give everyone a little bit of a feel for Oyster Point Pharma is one of the few ophthalmology only companies that are out there in the pharma sector. We only work on drugs and therapies in the biological space that deliver therapeutic approaches to treating anterior segment disease, ocular surface disease. Many of us come from a background of being in retina for most of our career, but we really think that there's a large unmet need on the front of the eye, especially with ocular surface disease. And so we've really developed and built this company around focusing specifically in that arena. As a CEO, I'm probably one of the only CEOs out there in the ophthalmology space that was a tech and in multi-specialty practice at some point in time during my career in the early days, but I've spent almost my entire career in ophthalmology. I was in clinical ophthalmology early on, spent some time in medical school at MCP Hahnemann University in Philadelphia. I was at Wills Eye Hospital. Now I obviously focus in on pharmaceutical and biologic development, but I've really had a passion for ophthalmology since very early on in my career. And so excited to be able to share with you what we're doing here at Oyster Point. But we used to have many companies that were very ophthalmic focused, and that number's dwindled down over the years. So we're really trying to bring back a company that's really trying to understand mechanism of disease, understand pathophysiology, and really bring novel approaches to treating disease. We're not really interested in, reformulating other molecules that have been out there for long periods of time. And so what you'll see is our pipeline is really focused on trying to bring all the new science that's happening throughout medicine to ophthalmology.
That sounds exciting. That's great. So let's focus in on Tyrvaya, its pathophysiology, its mechanism, why'd you develop it? What was it?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So, when looking at dry eye disease and in particular how to stimulate tear film, from a neurobiology perspective, it really was evident that there was a number of different pathways. And we all know that, the corneal nerves will communicate with the lacrimal functional unit. We all know that we have pathways in the nasal cavity. We all know that there's emotional centers in the brain that will also cause tearing. And so our focus really was knowing that many patients out there with ocular surface disease had a compromised cornea. We wanted to come up with a pathway that went around that compromised cornea to be able to stimulate natural tear production. And at the end of the day, we really do believe that there's really no substitute for the patient's own natural tear film. We have many approaches out there with, rewetting drops or lubricating drops. And really with that approach, we get some benefit that may last for a few minutes to, half an hour or so at most. But again, we're washing away all those beneficial components of the tear film. And like my chief medical officer likes to coin it, it's like dishpan eyes. So Matt, if everybody remembers the old Palmolive days with Madge's dishpan hands, we're just washing away all of those components. And so, there's obviously been a lot of interest in things like serum tears or plasma. And really what we're trying to do is stimulate a pathway where we can actually stimulate the natural tear film. And we know that this pathway in the nasal cavity communicates to the conjunctival goblet cells, the lacrimal gland, as well as the meibomian glands. Now, there will be patients out there, as you guys know, that may not have functional cells or glands. And we're certainly not going to rejuvenate those cells or glands. But if the nerve pathways are intact and if the glands are functioning, we're able to stimulate through this pathway in the nasal cavity. And so it gives patients, not only another route of administration, because we all know that, there are many patients out there that just can't deliver topical eye drops accurately or at all. Some won't be able to tolerate the stinging and burning. So it really gives an opportunity to deliver therapy through a new route and with a novel mechanism of action.
Wow.
We have a very good safety profile that's out there, well known. And we've also developed it as the only preservative-free multi-dose nasal spray in the US. So much like what you guys deal with on the ocular surface with benzalkonium chloride, our colleagues over in ENT deal with the same thing in the intranasal cavity. And, we've developed this without preservatives. So not only do you not have preservatives on the eye, but you don't have it in the nose as well.
That's great, Jeff. So, just to get back to Madge, I think she did have dry eye, and I do miss her. I wonder what she's doing now. Maybe she could be a marketer for you.
That's right.
But so what's the data? What can a patient expect using Tyrvaya?
Yeah. So the drug itself, is again delivered as a small volume nasal spray in the nasal cavity. So it's about 50 microliters. That's a much smaller volume than we typically would be used to with an Afrin, for example. It's about half that volume. So it's really a nice mist delivered to the nose. And it's a little different with its delivery in that we actually want to deliver it to the anterior portion of the nose. So those inferior turbinates, we don't want to get it up into the sinus cavity or into the throat because it will bind to receptors there as well. And we can get some irritation and some coughing associated with it. The most common side effect associated with the product will be sneezing. That usually occurs more predominantly on the front end of the treatment paradigm and goes away over time. But we get the nice thing about the product from an efficacy perspective is you get consistent production of tear film. So your patient, if they take it in the chair before they leave the office, they're going to feel better by the time they walk out of the office. And then the idea is to take it twice daily chronically so we can reestablish that tear film homeostasis on the ocular surface. Many patients take it according to the way that we've prescribed it in the clinical trials, which is morning and then evening when they come home from work. We also have some select populations like patients that may sleep with some poor lid closure or have CPAP, and they may take it in the evening and the morning because that's when they're most symptomatic. So the product has a unique capability of providing some immediate relief, but also chronic therapy over time.
That's fantastic, Jeff. Thank you. Well done. So, Jon, can you give us some color on your experience with Tyrvaya?
Yes, so just to review a couple of things. So Carl's in Alaska, I'm in New Jersey, Jeff's in New Jersey. So this is a lot of fun for all of us to get together.
The New Jersey guys are ganging up on me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, a large part of my practice is dry eye. I've been treating patients for 28 years for dry eye. And we're really excited about having another way to help our patients. So, I use various modalities to try to increase patients' tear film, improve their tear film, as well as block the tears from leaving the eye. So this is a nice added methodology that I'm excited about. So it's only been out a short while. I've been using it, and patients on the whole I've been really encouraged by it. I've had a few patients that really felt either they didn't like the sneezing or they didn't like putting something up their nose. But I think on the whole, most have been very tolerant of it. I've had some really great stories where I had a couple of patients in particular that had gone doctor to doctor. I had done plugs, Restasis, Xiidra, other modalities, and they were almost immediately, they really liked this. And I think what Jeff is bringing up is they had enough production from their own tears that this stimulated it, but it was their own tears. And I think they actually appreciated it. They felt better with that than some of the other over-the-counter type drops or other modalities. Right. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's still early. I think one really good thing for my patients has been I hand them a brochure that the company has provided to me that has a great thing. You just put your phone right on it. A YouTube video comes up giving you exact directions as Jeff was saying, the anterior, which is the front part, that's really key. And that's where you want that stimulation, but it really shows detailed instructions on how to do it.
It's fantastic. So I think this is a real nice introduction, and nicely done, Jeff. John, thank you. I think we're going to wrap this up. Is there any final words you want to say, Jeff, about Tyrvaya or about Oyster Point?
Yeah, well, I guess what I would say just on the Tyrvaya front is, we launched the product in November of last year, so we're not even 6 months out from launch. During this period of time, we have a number of patient services that are available. So patients with commercial insurance today can get the product for either $0 to $10, depending upon their insurance coverage. So it's a really great time for the patients to be able to try it. Unfortunately, we don't have broad Medicare coverage yet, so we will as the year goes on, but we have had some success in getting patients covered at a reasonable amount on the Medicare side. But as we get into 2023, that'll become, much more robust. So it's just a really great time to be able to, allow the patient to try this. And again, we're working on a number of other things in the pipeline. I think at the end of the day, as you guys know, dry eye is probably not going to be treated by one thing in particular, but a whole host of different treatment modalities. And we really think that this Tyrvaya and the way that it works really is sort of foundation therapy. And then you would, be able to treat the patient with their own natural tear film, and then you can sort of add therapy on from there, devices, different modalities. But we really think that almost any patient can benefit from their own natural tear film. And one of the things that I think is important that we didn't know before we started the program is almost all patients will respond to the product. So unless there's some sort of damage to the nerves in the nasal cavity where they're not communicating, almost any patient, even some of the patients that have really bad autoimmune disease or Sjogren's disease, still produce meaningful amounts of tear film.
Fantastic. Tremendous.
Great info.
Yeah. So once again, thanks for coming to Einstein's Eyes, Jeff. You sort of christened this version of our model, our YouTube model. And
Very well done. Very well done.
Right. You're our first CEO. So
Great.
We thank you. And perhaps we can have you come back and talk more about Tyrvaya and your other the other entities in your pipeline as you gather more data. So
Yeah.
Great, everyone. Thank you for being here. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you later. So long, guys.